Bernie trying to set up his 10th frame. Filling a spare.
So deliberate on the approach. It just it just doesn't seem like ball's getting out as quickly as it was earlier today.
I think I noticed a little bit of timing issue. I think it was just a little bit fast right there, and didn't quite get himself to his delivery.
Right,
so
it
that
wasn't
he could
like he was there.
really
right,
coordinate his hand and his eyes.
And then sent it over in the corner, but the messenger did not deliver on that one.
Got John Zekas stepping up on lane 1.
He's at 161 plus a box.
Well, gathering his
his
equipment for the 10th frame.
Yep. Chris Louth now loading that spare we just watched.
Come on.
Oh, he's got
there it is.
There it is. Okay. A chance for seven spares.
7's a lot of spares in a game. I mean, it's not necessarily a lot of marks in a game, but it's certainly a lot of spares in a game. Well, so I'll take 7.
Any day, right?
I'll take 7 spares in a game. I'll tell you that.
I believe he's at 133, 143. He'd be at 44 at a ball if he makes. And he did, so.
He did it. All right.
Louth is a chance for a 150 game.
And I think, there's some celebration going on down there.
I think that may have been worth something, yes. I believe that was.
Yeah, so.
No other reason for them to be cheering about that particular shot other than that.
I think, what I was saying earlier, seven marks isn't necessarily a lot. It's plenty of marks, of course.
Spares,
but 7, usually if you have 7 marks, there's a strike or 2 sprinkled in.
Right, which is why that's a difficult
spares, right? So seven spares is quite a few spares, and now it's confirmed.
Confirmed by Jim Kaufman that in fact does take the lead for most spares on that pair.
The only thing that Chris doesn't have going for him on that game is that 7 spares and a 144 game, which could, if he was in a tie break, I don't think that would.
He wouldn't win the tiebreaker, but I believe 6 was in the lead.
So, well, he stands atop. He's alone on top for that award, and. What a game! I mean, that 5-7-10. You look at it, and you don't have the award without it. So what a cover that was.
Zekas finished with a 171, but a little bit of an outburst down there on lanes 1 and 2. Definitely a little frustrated, even though he threw a 171. But I'm sure that's a result of the prior games, not the 171.
Yeah. Some frustration is accumulated.
Ooh. Once again, Bernie right through the middle. So he's not in good shape in this game at all. Bounced it around, but nothing happened.
Well, I wouldn't say his body language is telling me that he's checking out or anything, but his body language is telling me that he's kind of accepting that he's not going to be able to pull this one off this year.
No. So he finishes right there with maybe a game in the 120s.
Yeah, 119, I think, for Bernie. And that is...
Yeah, that's not going to help his cause.
Bernie finishing his game is the last of our 3 bowlers on the scoreboards. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
Become the biggest problem solver I ever know. He's just okay, I want to do that, so we're just going to figure out how we're going to do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated. McClellan's champion.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ring and 5 pin, and we have a tie.
Become the biggest problem solver I ever know. You know, he's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just going to figure out how we're going to do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated. McClellan's champion.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ring and 5 pin, and we have a tie. Okay, we're back, and actually just in time to watch. Well, I guess we're watching the bowlers put their balls up on the rack. We're going to need just a moment here while they made the long travel between lanes 19 and 20 all the way down to 1 and 2. This is the long turn. I think most bowlers, though, look forward to it, welcome the opportunity to get down to 1 and 2. So this leaves us with some more time to talk, I guess. Pat stepped away, so Pat's back, so maybe we can chat. Either I don't know, Pat. What do you want to talk about? We've got a few moments here while the bowlers are getting their fifth game started.
Talk about my blown forecast of sorts. I predicted last week when I was here bowling that there was going to be some problems for the Friday night shift. I thought, at least if nothing else, it would be a severe storm with some power outage potential. But I also thought there would be some snow, and that part didn't pan out so well. But miles from here, literally, Bristol, Connecticut, and Points West had upwards of 10 inches of snow, and then when you get out into New York, they had 39, 36. So those people are like,
wow, they got buried. Yeah.
And there's potential for more snow coming up this week. Yes, no. So Eric, I just talked a lot. And maybe, through your mic.
Yeah, maybe your mic picked it up.
But anyways, the storm was, as I said, I thought last week when I was here, I was talking about the potential for a major storm. And I thought at the very end it would turn to snow and perhaps put a few inches on the ground.
Well,
but
I did get a little bit of snow on the ride home from here.
There was snow. It did snow. I mean, the whole forecast wasn't a disaster, but I never expected a huge amount of accumulation. But I thought there would be more than nothing,
right,
which is what ended up being. But I wasn't the only one. I wasn't alone. There were many, many services out there, including the National Weather Service, that in the end predicted 3 to 6 inches of snow for this area and didn't pan out. So.
Yeah,
it's hard. March is such a difficult.
And there's always a boundary.
You just don't know
where there is snow and where there's not. And how much are they going to get? And
it's just it really
Still got a heck of a storm.
the bottom line was the storm that came through. It wasn't about snow. It was about wind and the high tides and the torrential rains. It was as advertised in terms of that aspect of it.
Right.
You couldn't tell people out in eastern Massachusetts that it was a dud because they're trying to put together the pieces of what used to be their homes and businesses, and it's awful what happened out there.
Some devastation up there.
Yeah. And there's still many, many, many thousands of people that still don't have power. So, but we have our internet connection back, and it's great to be here and live. And the
Yes.
88th Frank Barber Memorial Eastern Classic is just starting to percolate. We're getting to the point tomorrow where the 7 hours tomorrow of coverage is going to be awesome. Cannot wait.
Yeah, we had in the camera, within the view of the camera just a moment ago, a bowler I feel inclined to mention because it's not his first time in front of the Duckman TV cameras, and he actually had a very successful outing a couple of years back. Josh Cullen,
Yes.
Rhode Island
Absolutely.
Series Stop Championship. He put
Yes.
on quite a performance and gave us, quite a show that we were able to record and
Yep.
present to our audience. That was very fun.
Still
it's nice
a very
to see
young,
him here.
very, very young bowler.
Yeah, so, and a great talent.
So there's still a lot of guys in this tournament. Even tonight, there's 2 or 3 guys tonight that can put a score in the clubhouse. Probably not going to be confident it's going to hang on, but they still have a shot at the scores that are in the clubhouse are attainable for these guys.
That's a really great point, Pat. I think there still is something to be said for beating the guys who are in the clubhouse because those are the posted scores. Those are the only ones that are
You're done. Right.
And we're all trying to make predictions, whether they be weather or the final scores for the Eastern Classic. I think we're all probably betting that it's going to be over 1,800.
I don't want to wish bad luck on anyone, but it's hard to shoot 159 every game.
Yeah,
I mean it's not an easy thing to do.
right. So there is something to be said for beating those scores that have been posted so far.
Right.
1771 being the current high water mark.
Right, in the clubhouse, as they say.
Yeah.
And I believe that is in the 140. Was it 146? I to watch as the ticker goes by.
It's 147.6.
Well, there you go.
That was by Kevin Martin. Deserves a shout out for.
He had a 200
great.
game in this tournament as
did.
well. Yes.
Yeah, great weekend. I heard. Wasn't here to witness it myself, but
I believe that featured a 5-bagger.
oh, it did. Wow.
Yes. I was listening to Kyle Shaw talking during the shift that I was bowling, and throughout the leagues that they hold here, he was saying that they have not, at least in his recollection, have not had a 4-bagger, yet last weekend produced 2 4-baggers and a 5-bagger.
Wow.
So it talks to the quality of the bowler that shows up.
Quality of the bowling. Yeah. The I think the mentality that people bring here. That you
It's
just
different.
It's hard. I would be willing to bet that if you average everything out, it's hard to say what I'm trying to explain here, but like your bowlers exceed their average on average. If you
There you
will.
go. So probably for the most part, even if you look at the top of the top, Jesse Deach is a 150 average bowler. Through 6 games, he's averaging 10 pins higher.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's not just a small margin to be
No.
beating your average by.
It's exponentially higher when you think about it. I mean, it's
and
easier for a 100 or a 110 bowler to go 10 over. A 150 bowler to go 10 over is extraordinary.
Right. Once you get to a certain point, I think in scoring, and 150 seems like some sort of.
It's a benchmark.
Every pin that you kind of go above that,
Yep.
it's kind of like.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's why so few bowlers
Right.
exceed that mark in the first place.
Exactly. So you look at the history of this tournament, and you had, I believe you said you had Miles Concannon on last night. And he bowled 1,900, right?
Oh, Who's that? I'm
Did
sorry?
you say, did you have Miles on last night?
No.
Who did you have on last night?
Brian's on the broadcast.
Yes.
Pardon me.
He lost to Scott Wolgamuth.
He lost to Scott Wolgamuth.
You weren't. Jim was telling me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So on last night's
Friday night.
Yeah, on last night's broadcast, they brought in, I believe, Miles Concannon, who some point back in this tournament bowled over 1,900 and lost by over 100 pins
Oh, okay.
in a tournament to Scott Wolgamuth, where most 1,900 is like a guarantee.
Yeah,
Like, you
pardon
can't
me-
lose.
Pardon me for the confusion.
You were bowling. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I wasn't here. You were bowling.
No, that's quite a story. I mean,
My wife had me on lockdown last night. just so
Yeah.
you know.
Well, if you think about that, the 2066 that Scott bowled beat any, 12 consecutive game set. Ever
Forget
bowled.
it.
So-
Yeah,
so
forget
you
it. Yeah.
You were up against a world record that year, and that's
And to come out and throw it, to come out in a 12-game tournament and bowl over 1,900, you would say, "I'll take that every day, all day." And then, you might even say, "I venture no one can come within 50 pins of that," and then somebody goes 150 the other way. I'm sorry, Jim. Jim, I'm going to give you the mic for a second. I was just talking to Eric about the conversations you had last night with Miles Concannon, and he, of course, wasn't aware of those because he was bowling. But if you could just fill us in on that, just a little bit of his perception of that event as it unfolded.
Which event again?
When Wolgamuth,
Oh, right. So Miles finished second to Scott Wolgamuth that year, and he shot over 1,900. He said each of the 2 years prior to that year and 2 of the 3 years after that year, he would have won the Eastern. Instead, he lost. He came in second by over 100 pins to Scott. He broke 1,000 his first 6 games and wasn't in first. He was still looking up 20, 25 pins to Scott's score after 6 games. So you
That's
break
just-
1,000 and you're not in first after 6. And then you break 1,900 and you come in second by 100 pins is, yeah, you kind of have to throw your hands up and say, what do I have to do?
Yeah.
So what he did was, later that year, the Pro Tour was here at Lucky Strike. He won it. And who did he beat in the finals? 4-time winner, Eastern Classic winner, Ron Pelletier. So he got a little bit of revenge on the Eastern via
okay.
the Pro Tour, but
There's a cast of characters that just, in many of the stories, the most momentous occasions in this bowling alley. The same names seem to come up all the time, right?
Right.
Ron Pelletier and Scott Wolgamuth.
and a lot of times you hear, well, you don't remember people that finished second. They never talk about people that finished second. Well, we're talking about Miles, who finished second, and he actually finished 3rd, 4th, and 5th in the Eastern over his career, but never won it.
Wow, that's a heck of a resume in the Eastern in the first place.
just want to thank Jim for filling us in on those details, because I was talking about it because I was recollecting what Jim had told me earlier, and I was thinking you were part of that, but of course you weren't because you were busy throwing a 930. Just saw Bernie go through the middle again. He's not thus far. He's not taking advantage of lane 1. Louth started off with a strike.
Yeah,
Chris is he needs two big ones.
Yeah, John Zekas opens with a spare and a strike.
Yeah, and Zekas has 2 games left. He just threw that 171. Another situation where if he can throw 2 big ones, I mean, he's not going to be happy if he doesn't get himself in contention. But if he can throw a 500 set there in the last 3, puts himself in position for at least a block award.
Right, he's got 1404 after that 171 game, which is 140 almost on the nose
Right.
average.
But think about what he has to do to overcome a 160 average. Never
Right.
mind a 150.
Yeah, I mean 1800 is back-to-back.
Well, I mean,
games,
at 140, he's 100 pins back.
right. Well, to your earlier point, maybe the goal isn't necessarily to get to 1800; it's to try to beat the leader in the clubhouse.
Right.
And now we're not talking about 400 for 2; we're talking about 360,
Well,
70.
Everyone on this shift, that should be their only goal right now, is to beat the top score that's done.
Yeah.
And then, whatever happens with the other guys who are 6 games on, I mean, they got to throw 6 more.
Right. It's the first step to having a chance to winning this tournament is beating the
You
guy
got to beat the guy who's already in.
who's already got his scores in. Yeah.
Looking at the C division right now, the Silva, that name is not a name I'm familiar with. Put himself just one pin ahead of John De Palma, who we all obviously know. And then
I think those,
Mike
those
Esposito
two
is
just,
also
through 6 games going to battle it out.
right. They are one pin differential, and they've got Mike Esposito in the clubhouse with a 133 average. So they've got a little bit of leeway as they make their way through tomorrow.
Chris Louth there on
Almost a double.
on lane 1. That would have been a nice start to the game.
Sure would. He'll take a 10. He'll take a strike 9 spare and throw another.
Yep.
We do have most of our the bowlers that we are most focused on in terms of the leaderboard are all within our camera range here. So this should be an interesting couple of games for us. Louth all over the 5-pin.
Yep. And the transition between games 5 and 6 is going to be a little bit easier for the crew.
Absolutely. Nowhere to go.
Just got to jot some scores down, and all the equipment can stay where it is.
Ooh,
Wow,
that's ugly. I just saw something over on that lane 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Eek. That's Trip. He was up on the leaderboard earlier in the day when I was here. Looking at Don Dove, put himself in position for tomorrow. Mark and Stacy.
Yep. Don came up to me after closing out. I didn't even, we had talked to Don on the air a couple of years ago, who, by the way, went on the record and said 100% nobody is beating 2066. That record is not getting beat.
Never happened.
Not him, not anybody else. He said that to us a couple of years ago. I got to tell you, I'm not. I don't think I'm Mario.
I'm not going to bet against that. That's for sure.
When Don's that confident in something, I think I'm just
It's
gonna go with it.
what is it? It's a ridiculous average.
It hadn't occurred to me that Bernie Hipkins covers, throws a strike there and waves bye.
Yeah, no, it's like he's not. But he's got to get that. He's got to get that out of his mind. Just go forward. You got 19 boxes, 18 boxes to go.
Yep. So, finish my story. Don has not actually bowled in front of with Duckman TV. We haven't really caught him bowling.
Got it.
So he came up to us afterwards and said, good show. Absolutely. You pretty much bowled your average, which is phenomenal, but
Yeah.
always a good show. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that was pretty cool.
Well,
it'll be
It should be interesting tomorrow if he puts a couple of big games together early. Obviously, we're going to start following him closely.
Yeah. Mentioning Don Dove and his average, in the February match, the adult.
I saw
version
his
of the
he averaged
alumni.
ridiculous.
He averaged 158, and there was a donation that was made tied to the highest average carried throughout the tournament, and Don carried a phenomenal average,
Yeah.
and the person made a generous donation.
I know.
It
was wonderful.
Very grateful for that.
Does Chris Louth just lead the head pin?
I think I thought it was the 5-pin, but let's take a closer
I think
look.
that's the head pin. I could be wrong. I mean,
Either way, it's the
it's
5-pin.
in the middle. He
Even-
didn't hit it. It didn't matter what pin that was for that shot.
Either way, you tell yourself it's the 5-pin.
It's the 5-pin. Either way, exactly. Well, Chris is not happy with those last 2 balls, but he's got to just shake that off and keep that ball in the pocket. He's throwing a good ball.
There's a B division bowler down on the ticker, Charlie Craw, who had 688
Nice average, 37.6. Very nice.
through 5 games. I think we've got an update to make on that.
He's not, yeah, because he's not done.
We've got an
I mean,
update
he's
to
not
make on
here.
the score, but through 5, obviously, good scoring.
See Paul Groves over there on lane, I believe that's lane 7.
Paul sporting a tie-dye for his, not for his 88th Eastern, but for the 88th.
The 88th Eastern. We got John Zekas right now entering his 4th box of his 5th game. Coming off a 171 game, averaging at this point 140. Needs 2 monster games to get himself back anywhere near the front.
That one goes a little light for the 1-2. I don't think he was expecting
no.
a lot more than what he got.
Bernie with the, right behind it, almost doubled up. He had the pin run across, but just went behind the 5-pin on that one. That definitely is the 5-pin this time.
Wow, what a shot.
Zekas bounced it, but not quite enough.
Might have been hard to see if you're looking at this on a mobile device or the small screen, but that was on the inside of the 10-pin and almost came off the wall.
Bernie Hipkins covers up his 5-pin for a 10 load and another mark. But as you're looking at our ticker, you're seeing that you're not seeing names of bowlers right now that are in front of us. The bowlers that are on the ticker in the top 10 are all either done their 12 or going to be bowling tomorrow, either in the morning or later on in the afternoon. They're all chasing right now the score in the clubhouse of 1771 put up by Kevin Martin. See Steve Dreyer right there in 9th with an 885 through 6. Former tournament winner.
Here's Mike Steiner in the center of the screen there.
See Will Rigney 2 years ago, our winner 2 years ago, in the top 10 right now through 6 with an 881. It's Billy Thomas. So we're still scrolling, and none of the bowlers we have in front of us are on that list. So they need to do some work in this game to get themselves back in contention.
Yeah, here's Chris Louth. Started this game with a strike, a spare, and open, and
bomb.
A strike. Wow, that's a great ball.
Seeing Bernie back up on the lane 1. At this point, Bernie needs to start throwing just missiles. Hope to catch a triple or 4-bag or something to pump that score up quick. Man, you can't throw it much better than that. Yeah. Solid 7-pin right there. But he's been doing that all day. That's all he's been doing is dropping 9, really. You see Bernie cover that spare, so 3 out of 4 marks for Bernie Hipkins in the 5th game. Chris Louth, 3 out of 4 marks. They need probably 8 out of 10, 2 games in a row to put themselves back in the picture.
Yeah. And perhaps that'll be enough to get them, in the neighborhood of 1771. I mean,
what is Bernie's standing total right now?
14-17 for Bernie right now. So he's going to need a 354.
354. He's big games.
Yeah.
He's going to average 180. See John Zekas here in lane 3. Right
Wow.
through the middle. He's going to throw a really good ball to rip out the 1-5.
I actually I was bowling last night with Dave Dupuis, and he managed to cover this. After taking out the 1-5, he was he hit the 3-pin a little bit heavy and got action off the wall, and it went. It was pretty cool to watch.
One of my ugly memories from last weekend's bowling was I did the same. I ripped out the 1-5 and I caught the 2-pin light inside and sent everything over, and everything went straight across, and everything fell but the 10.
Oh, so
it was clean. It was clean. Everything went down at the same time except for the 10.
Oh man! Wow, what a ball that was!
That was a great ball by Louth.
Great moment for a double for him. Under normal circumstances, you're not disappointed at all about that.
No, but he knows right now he needs to pile them up. So he's got to cover this and start throwing more.
It sort of feels like a hostage situation. It's so stressful.
He's all over that though.
You don't want to make the wrong move.
Well, like I said earlier, these guys know. The guys who are in contention know what the number is. They need to push that as close to 1,800 as they can. And, of course, anything over that is gravy. But if you're under 1,800, chances are you're probably not in contention, looking at some of the scores that are out there right now and looking historically at what normally wins this tournament.
Yeah.
See Zekas back up now in lane 4, coming off of that 1-5 rip.
What a ball that was.
That was a little different, that one.
Yeah, it's funny. John's one of those guys who's got a ritual before he goes. I mean, a lot of us do. Most of us do. In fact,
we all trying to zone in.
You can kind of tell how much attention he's paying to the. Yeah, there's finally a good mix.
Bernie
there.
got a hop.
Yeah. How focused he is by how many times he just does a little swing with the ball next to him. And most of the times when he swings 3 or 4 times, he's going to throw a really good ball. He's locked in and taking care to make sure that he's ready to go. Start his approach before he goes.
Well, you can you can't take the frustration from the last box to the next box because it's not gonna. You can't do it.
Sure. I was mentioning that about John because I noticed it's brief. His ritual is working through it quickly.
He vents it. It's vented and it's gone.
I think he's he's lost some hope that he's gonna
correct.
Have a really good shot at winning this tournament, and he's kind of going through his motions a little more quickly, but he still does that, and he gets up and throws a ball, just a rocket right in the 1-2 pocket. Sometimes it helps to not think as much too, especially when you're not.
Sometimes.
Yeah, especially when you're not bowling so well.
I'd say thinking is the worst thing you can do in the bowling alley.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, and there's other times where you just need your concentration. If you're not paying attention to some key things, you'll allow yourself to.
I guess when I say
drift
thinking,
away from your.
I guess when I say thinking, I mean when you're on the lane,
Yeah.
setting your approach and focusing on your release point and what. But if you're thinking about anything but that.
Yeah, something relevant to just your mechanics is, I think, what you want to be have in your head, not anything about your score.
Did I just miss a single or
what happened last frame? What another bowler did? It's got to be. I need to keep my feet slow. I need to time myself. I need to keep my shoulder.
Should be about your motion, your release.
Yeah,
and then from there, it's just a matter of if you do all that, the ball usually does the work.
Yeah. That's the type of focus and concentration that I think separates really, really great bowlers.
That's probably a 15 or 20 pin difference a game, probably. His Louth with another pocket rocket.
Get over there.
Didn't quite get. He's just dropping nines now.
Yeah, they're bouncing off of one another, just not getting over to the 5-pin. Bernie's got 4 out of 5 in the first 5
As
frames.
does Louth.
So does Chris, yep.
But again, we're looking at them needing monster games to get to just under 1,800.
Right.
Or not even within 1,800. They need 200s.
Yeah, I mean, they almost need. I mean, if they're not going to carry some doubles and get some
They got to mark
breaks
out.
on the strikes, they need at least 8 marks a game, probably 9 or 10.
Bernie up on his strike. Hopefully, this is where he can make a move here. If he starts stringing them.
Yeah, no doubt he recognizes the opportunity.
He's got 15 boxes right now
Still-
to do something.
Still, never an easy thing to capitalize on it.
Another 1-5 over there on.
Yeah, that was
Man, those even if when you can't hear them, which we can't even hear them, but they still look painful when you can't even hear them.
Yeah.
When you can hear them, they're worse. Bernie looking to double right here.
Oh,
Pulled that one. Came over the top of that one.
is John trying his hand at a double, and
Yeah, he does not get a benefit of a break there.
yeah, 1-3 pocket going away. Even a little light, I would say.
Yeah,
and
4-5-7.
something fell. I don't know if it was.
Might have the 4-5.
I don't know if it fell legally, or if it needs to be stood back up.
Bernie
Well,
with a 10 low. That makes that a 9 and
that's a
1.
good recovery. Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a couple ways to
Well,
180 or 190, and one way is with just 9 marks, 9 consecutive marks to finish your game. The other way
with
is
9 or 10 loads.
with a couple of with a double or something. So
Right.
that was a great recovery there.
Well, it is just what he needed. I mean, he's going to have to look at it in the last game if he can throw a 210 or 220, which they're out there on lanes 1 and 2. I mean, I believe one year in this tournament, Eric Pellet threw a 246 game down on 1 and 2.
There's that pair again. Oh, and Chris, inside of the
Yeah, you get away with that one, really.
inside of the 3-pin. I always, maybe it's just what I tell myself, but I think of that missed head pin a little bit differently than I think of hitting the 2 or
Right.
3-pin on the outside. And I think the pins respond more favorably too. You a little bit better of a better chance
Yeah,
to get
but again,
8 or something out of that.
You throw a ball like that, you get a 7 load and a shot.
Yeah, you feel fortunate because you very well could hit the head pin and just like
Cleaned
that.
it up nicely.
Could just as easily hit the head pin and do it.
Yeah, you could rip the middle. You could leave, a split. That was a makeable spare, and he took advantage of it for
Yeah.
sure.
The outcome is actually better missing the head pin
On
when
that
you're
ball.
on the inside of it than it is touching the head pin. You usually, something really.
You could end up
Terrible
with the
can happen.
You could end up
just-
with 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 or something crazy.
Yeah, you could just get the 1-3-9 or
Yeah.
something like that. Instead, you get 7. You get wall action. You could even get a strike out of it,
Right.
if you're lucky.
That's where we are. We're at Lucky Strike, so it happens. Enjoying the 88th annual Frank Barber Memorial Classic, Eastern Classic,
It's
from Manchester, Connecticut.
amazing to say that. It's also amazing that we were just here for the 85th. We're going to be at the 90th
I know.
before you know it.
Years go by.
Here's Bernie. And Bernie leaves 7-8. Here's John. John goes through the middle.
Through the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's pretty much conceded the fact that things aren't happening the right way he wanted it.
Yeah.
His vision of tonight's 6 games is just not coming.
Bernie also left himself a split on that
Yep.
first ball at 7-8, and he gets 1-1 for 10. It's just a costly open frame, not necessarily to his fault. He hitting your object pin, but costly nonetheless.
They can't afford any right now. It's bottom line. They just have to mark almost every box.
All right, so we'll step away from the action for just a little bit here. We'll come back and watch these bowlers conclude their fifth game, and we'll be back right after this.
I think Nick's become the biggest problem solver I ever know. He's just okay. I want to do that, so we're just gonna figure out how we're gonna do it. And honestly, I don't know how we figured out how to do the duck pin, but everybody tells me it's simply amazing. He just figured it out on his own.
Mulvihill needs to beat that 163 to win this match. So that means putting a strike on this. 9 pins will tie. 8 pins or less, he's eliminated. McCollum's champion.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimmy Mulvihill throws another great ball on the head pin, leaves a ringing 5 pin, and we have a tie.
And we're back, Eric. Are you going to rap?
Yeah, some interesting conversation took place in the break there. We filled Pat in on
I missed that conversation.
what Brian seems to think was some sort of a written agreement that I would freestyle rap about.
Oh, wow. About what?
If we got to, it was actually about duck pin.
All right.
Duck pin bowling.
Can we throw out some, just give you a keyword, like split? Bomb?
Listen, this is already an impossible task for me in the first place. You can make it more impossible, but we've still got to get to 100 viewers.
All right. Well, I was on my drive in from Boston. I had my phone up. There was 127 viewers during that segment. I had Duckpin TV on my phone in my console.
Was this during
On my
5B?
It
Or
was
5A,
it
rather?
was shift
Okay.
5A.
It was this was
I don't know what the bet
proposed.
was.
I'm just gonna use the word proposed. Different word than what Brian's using. It was proposed during this shift.
If we could get so we have 75 viewers right now, and we need to bump that up to 100
right
to get you to
you know what we actually were
mix some rhymes.
Yes.
Got it. All right.
Now,
So
what we were also talking about, just as you were walking in, because we were, rap came up. We debated the merits of mumble rap or its credibility as even a form of rap. We thought to ourselves that you would probably have some serious opinions about hip hop and
yeah, I'm not a big fan of vulgar rap or any of that misuse of the English language. I like. I got to admit, I like some of Eminem's stuff when he's not, vulgar. I think some of the stuff that Pitbull does in he seems to be in every other third song.
yeah,
It's not technically rap, I suppose, but that's the kind of
prolific artist.
yeah, that's where I'm about that kind of. I don't really.
Well, it's hard to deny that some of the beats and the melodies and the rhythms and the lyrics some of these guys can put together is
Pretty awesome.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are at 78. We need.
Yeah,
If you're out there
climb it.
watching, just call like 10 of your friends. Tell them just for giggles. Go on to Facebook. Check out Duckpin TV's Facebook Live coverage of the 88th annual Frank Barber Eastern Classic, and you'll hear something pretty special if we can get 100 viewers here tonight.
Special. Oh man.
97. Yeah, baby. Come on. 98. Take a picture of it. You better start working, buddy.
Yeah, I have to admit that this. If I do this, it's going to be.
Hey, we're just right now. We're asking for people to do us a favor. That's all we're asking. All right, so let's get back to the bowling. If we get to 100, Jim will absolutely keep us in. He will let us
I have
know,
no doubt.
and you can just spin your rhymes.
Yeah,
Just throw it out there.
I can't even think of a word that rhymes with pin right now. So
Eh.
this is John Zekas looking for a double.
And he's
Oh.
sloppy.
There's that inside
Yeah, he would
two
have.
pin there.
He would have absolutely loved that shot about an hour ago, I'm sure. Chris Louth
Oh,
still
Chris Louth.
stringing him.
Yep. Steadily marching.
That noise you hear in the background is the bane of the bowling alley, the bane of my existence, the dreaded air hockey table. So Zekas is finishing up his fifth game. He's in the 10th box working on a double. If he does mark triple out, he has a chance to get to in the 180s, backing up a 170 game. So
Yeah.
here's Louth loading his spare.
We also have John Zekas off to the side who's filling a double. Cut over to him and
Oh, 9 in the back of the pit.
yeah.
So Zekas looking to tidy up this 9 drop all over it. He's got another 160 game in the bank with a decent load. Oh man, we looks like you're safe. We dropped down to the 50s again,
What
Eric.
happened?
You didn't want to hear you rap, obviously.
That must have been it. That must have been it. They imagined
They obviously did not want to hear you
would have been
spin
like
any rhymes.
people just got out of there. They said, "Forget this."
It was a quick spurt there for a minute, but
Yeah. Well, I'm not.
jumped up from 60 to 98 in a heartbeat.
I feel like it could do it. Do it again at any minute.
Yeah.
Not out of the woods yet.
I do a pretty mean piano man, but that's not happening tonight either. So
A piano man, huh?
that's my go-to karaoke piano man.
Okay. I don't think I've ever karaoke'd a hip hop.
Yeah, that's some talent. You need talent to do that.
yeah. It's something I'm pretty poor.
Most
at.
people can sing piano man. Like it's just a. If you don't, it's like singing "Sweet Caroline" at the ball game. It's no different.
Right.
Okay, Bernie, come on. Let's string one here. There we go. He's got to talk to the bowlers.
Yeah, you do. You just talk at them and encourage them from.
I just he didn't know how
long
much
distance.
positive inspiration I just gave him to talk
I
to
have
him
a
about
feeling
that.
he knows. We should, we'll talk to him afterwards. and
Did you
see if he
feel that
felt it.
vibe?
Yeah.
He throws a 4-bagger here for a 185. He's going to be very happy that I was on his side.
Well, John Zekas pulling together a game that
I know.
he's
Coming off a 171 game, he started with the 379.
yeah. I mean,
It's a very frustrating start to the night.
right. 379 is it's unfortunately such a setback, right? On the upside, maybe you shoot 480, you make up 30 pins
Right.
on the 450,
Right.
but 379, you've buried, you
Yeah,
dug yourself up
You dug yourself almost a game.
71 pin
Like
hole,
almost a game.
Yeah,
You almost have a whole game to make up.
right.
And really, the only way to do that is with a big two, a 212, a 220,
Right.
something of that nature. That's the
Ones
only
that
way
are
to
few
do
and
it.
far in between.
Yeah. All right, we are awaiting our featured bowlers reappearance on the lanes for John Zekas. It will be the start of his final game. For Kevin Louth, it will be the last box of his fifth game.
There's John Zekas' first opening ball to his 12th and final game.
Looks like Chris Louth opens with a spare in his first box. Oh, no, that's his 10th. Okay, so Chris is finishing up his fifth game. That was his 10th box.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So he's put himself again, I'm going to say in the 150s here. But unfortunately, as bad as it sounds, it's not good enough.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got to be in the 70s and 80s.
And Chris
He's left that a few times today. He's,
converted it once, almost converted it the
Yeah,
other time. Yeah.
yeah. And again, you're throwing the ball in the right spot. That's one of the situations that could occur. You could go through the middle. I'd say Louth finished with like a 149, 150 in that game.
Yeah. I was trying to look for a total score for Chris Louth and for
I believe Jimmy Kaufman is out and about trying to collect those right now. Get updated for this last game of the shift. This is shift 4 in block B, with the second block of shift 4. Once again, all leading up to the exciting finish of this tournament tomorrow with 12 games. Shift 3, Block B, will be starting off 9:30 tomorrow morning, and then followed immediately by Shift 5, Block B. The bowling should be quite exciting throughout the morning and afternoon into the hopefully not too early evening.
Yeah, we we're excited for the bowling. We just always looking for things to move along in a timely fashion for everybody's sake. A lot of bowlers are going to have a long trip home afterwards, and
Yeah, that's the one thing about this tournament. There are some bowlers who fly in, but many of these bowlers from the Baltimore area travel by car. So they've got a ride, and some of them do book the extra night and don't go back until Monday. So
Yeah, why not make a weekend out of
yeah,
it? You know.
spend another night in Connecticut. It's not bad. Just don't want to live here.
Pat, is it true that you live? Do you live in Rhode Island or do you live in the?
I don't live in Rhode Island. Not yet. My next state of residence will be North Carolina. So, but not for a few years, 3 or 4 years.
So we had.
I was way off on Chris Louth. My goodness.
166 for Chris Louth and John Zekas 142.
So Chris, at this point, Chris does put himself in position. If he does throw a 200 game, I think he may be taking a look at that 1771.
And Bernie Hipkins 163. Bernie has 1580 for 11. That means 191 catches Kevin Martin.
So he's at a 191 to catch the leader in the clubhouse.
And Chris has 1585. He's got 5 pins on Bernie.
So they both need big games. So like I said, you got to throw a 200.
200 would be a nice margin ahead of
right.
Ahead of Kevin and get you close to 1800.
Again, that puts you as the leader in the clubhouse, and then you don't sit here tomorrow and cheer against anybody, but you just wait. And
Maybe there's a chance.
You might have a chance. Yeah.
And if nothing else, you led the Eastern.
You were in the lead
Eastern for
going into Sunday.
Yeah. John has 1546. He's going to have
he needs a lot of those.
Have a little bit more of a special game to get to that 1771.
Yeah, he's looking at like a 250 game.
Yeah.
So Chris throwing a fairly decent first ball there for a 5-10.
I wonder if Chris finds, is a little more comfortable shooting the 5-10 over the 5-7.
Well, he made the 5-7-10.
I don't know which way he made that.
I'm not sure if he went inside or outside, but
it's certainly a lot easier than this.
And he bounced it over the top.
That would have been the unorthodox way to make that
So,
one.
At this point, Eric, we're probably looking at if we don't see something real spectacular going on here early on, we're probably going to give you a chance to get home and get some rest.
I wouldn't mind.
Get here
taking a
early in
little
the
bit of
morning and start this second shift off and put some numbers up.
Yeah. Rest would come in handy. I can tell you that. It's been
Yeah,
a long
you gotta be like
so
me. Just
far.
go. You just go. You know?
Yeah.
Leave, go to Boston, come back.
Right. The Pat
Home is
Rufo
just
lifestyle.
a place, you go to once in a while.
Yeah,
hang out. I hung out last night though. I did my civic duty last night.
Yep.
Listened
You
to my
hung
wife.
in,
I listened to my wife.
And I'm sure if we had the broadcast up, you would have been tuned in, glued to the TV.
I absolutely. As soon as the delay came up, I watched it from start to finish.
Oh, good. I hope there were a bunch of others who did it too,
Well,
and that's
there
still
was-
out there.
I wasn't the
if
only
people
one.
wanna
Yeah,
watch
they
it,
were all out there. Yep.
as will today's broadcast.
Sure.
Those will all be available eventually on our YouTube site. But I'm pretty certain you can just look through our posts, our history of posts, and find some of
They're
these
all
streams, and you can-
they're all there.
for some of the bowlers who were featured today. There's
Bernie with a
us.
bomb.
Yeah. For some of the bowlers who were featured on the broadcast today, they could go back and keep an eye, look out, see
Yeah,
what they liked about what they did, see what they didn't like.
Absolutely. Pick something up, maybe.
Yeah. As we were doing the fundraising, as we were going through the fundraising effort and some of the things that were getting posted on our Facebook page, I thought that was something that's fairly easy to overlook. Right? We're here. We capture a lot of moments that are really they're moments that people celebrate, and they're very meaningful to individuals. They're
Yes.
important
Well,
memories, and we
there are
capture
people
them.
here. I had people this morning going, "Come on, you got to get it up there." People wanting to see me. I'm like, "Hey, I appreciate it, but we can only do what we can do."
Yeah. So I
It's
think
good.
It's
It's a
an
good
important
feeling.
Part of the service. It
Yes.
feels, that
Absolutely.
even I don't think about that often. Is that we're sort of encapsulating something for people.
Yes.
Good memories to be able to look back on.
And even
we do that with our archive too, right?
Yes.
We put a lot of effort
some
into
of the stuff that's been put out, some of the stuff that's been recaptured, some of the old footage. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with me with Top Gun. If I happen to be channel surfing and Top Gun comes on, I'm stuck. So it's the same thing with some of the bowling shows. I mean, I've watched John Gorman win that game probably 50 times.
We all have. Yeah.
All right, Eric. The bowlers have done you a pretty massive favor here. If any of these three guys had come out of the gates throwing doubles or triples, put them in the position to take the lead in the clubhouse, we probably would make you hang out here for another 20 minutes or so. But it's been a long day. You got a big day ahead of you tomorrow, both bowling and joining the broadcast booth after the shift 4 has ended. So Duckpin TV is going to call it a night.
Yeah, we'll bring it into today's coverage. It's been an eventful day, and we're glad to be up and running, and we are looking forward very much so to tomorrow. There's a lot of bowlers who have big scores, and we're going to conclude their 12 games and have a really good shot at maybe coming out on top and being the winner of the 88th.
It's always exciting, right?
88th Eastern Classic, and we'll bring as much of that live bowling as we can to the viewers tomorrow. So,
and I'm going to throw one more challenge at you. Right?
Okay.
If you win, right, in the interview at the end, you have to rap.
Listen, I don't know.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to be in any kind
I'm
of a state
just
of mind
saying.
to even talk.
Listen,
but,
you'll have plenty of time to think about it. All right.
Okay, I'll dream up a rap tonight, and we'll see how tomorrow goes.
Thanks,
But
Eric.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and for your patience, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a good night.